In this episode, an attempt at Rob Walker's vinyl tag 24.
Hello, welcome to Crushed Custard. Here is my first attempt at a vinyl community tag with the tag 24. Question 1 then was, what was your favourite purchase of 2023? And it's this, The Both, in 2013. And for those of you who don't know, The Both are Amy Mann, the former lead vocalist with Till Tuesday, got a great catalogue of solo stuff now, and a chap called Ted Leo. This is a wonderful album because anybody who knows Amy Mann knows she's got a very unique voice. It lends itself to sort of sad and dark type songs. Ted Leo's is exactly the opposite. He's all jangly and poppy, so it's something that probably shouldn't have worked, but it did. It's really good. I hope at one point they make another album, but they didn't. This is the only one they did. I finally got out of it this year. My most recent purchase is another one of my lady singer-songwriters from across the pond who you just can't get over here in England, and it's this. It's Rachel Sage's latest album. Absolutely wonderful. Look at that cover. That's really nice. It folds out like that, and then it's in lovely clear mint green vinyl as well. Lovely album. I've only managed to spin it a couple of times so far. The Other Side, it's called. Again, one of the things that I really like about my sort of female singer-songwriter stuff is I like them to have a little bit of quirk to their voice, and Rachel Sage, like Amy Mann from before, and one of the favourites that you might be hearing about later as well. They've all got a little bit of a quirk in their voice that makes them a little bit different to everybody else. So that's my most recent purchase. Rachel Sage, The Other Side. Name a band or singer who's produced 2 albums in the same year. Well, for somebody of my vintage, that's pretty easy, because in the 60s and 70s, or 60s and early 70s, it was pretty mainstream because your usual record contract was either 1 album or 3 albums over 2 years, so quite a lot of people did have to do 2 albums. The thing that makes it quite good for me is my 2 favourite bands of all time have both did it, so I've got an opportunity to flash them both up at the same time, and so I'm going to double up on this one as well. First of all, I'm going to go with 1970, and I'm going to go with Free, who managed to put out 2 absolute classics in the same year, in Fire and Water and Highway. Fire and Water, of course, has got on it Fire and Water, All Right Now, Mr. Big. Highway, not held in such high regard by a lot of people because it's a little bit of a more laid-back sort of album than Fire and Water, but incidentally, this was Paul Cotter's favourite Free album. They both came out in 1970. The main band is Deep Purple, and they managed to do it as well on more than one occasion. They did it in the 60s, but I'm going to focus with this. 1974 and Burn and Stormbringer, both absolute classics. This one is a complete continuation, really, of everything that had gone on before. This one is a bit of a departure, going more to the sort of funky side of things that they're going to get into later on, but both brilliant albums, and they both came out in 1974. A decade would I listen to if I could only listen to one decade? Well, I think that's probably pretty obvious, isn't it, from what I've just shown, and the fact I've already told you that Deep Purple and Free are my 2 favourite bands. It would have to be the 70s for me. The 70s covered everything. What other decade could you switch on the TV to the top pop programme and hear Slade, Clive Dunn from Dad's Army, and Val Doonican all at the same time? It's just incredible, really, wasn't it? So the 70s had something for everybody, so that would have to be the one that I kept on. Bands, singers from Manchester. Well, is this one, and it's Swing Out Sister. But everybody knows Breakout. This is a different album. This is Kaleidoscopic Worlds. Hasn't got Breakout on this one. Brilliant band. They're still going now and still churning out some great stuff. So Swing Out Sister would be my band from Manchester, and then because the singer didn't actually come from Manchester, I can cheat and I can have a singer as well. This lady, Elkie Brooks. Now, some of you may be thinking, Elkie Brooks, is she sort of safe? It's not something like your auntie used to like. It was on the 2 Ronnies and the Mike Yarwood show in the late 70s and the 80s. Well, yeah, she was, but the earlier solo albums and now the later ones, because she's still going, now they're they're really, really good. And anybody who thinks that she's some sort of safe act that your auntie's going to like, you get on YouTube and you look up Vinegar Joe on the Old Grey Whistle Test, and that lady singing is Elkie Brooks. Not going to be everybody's auntie's favourite from that, but there you go. Elkie Brooks, brilliant singer. Who I played most in 2023? It's this lady here, Rosalie Cunningham, with her excellent band. So she used to be the lead singer in a band called Person. Some of you probably will remember them. It's sort of psychedelic prog pop rock stuff, but it's brilliant. It really is brilliant. It's so different. It's on the advertising blurb. It says, if Kate Bush and the Beatles had had a baby, it would have been Rosalie Cunningham. That, I think, will tell you enough to make you want to go and have a look at some stuff on YouTube. Absolutely brilliant. Rosalie Cunningham, that's the person I listen to the most. Really, really good stuff. Singles next. So I've moved a little closer. Apologies if I've scared anybody. Now, I'm not a big collector of 7-inch singles, and I can tell you I have not bought a 7-inch single this century, which sounds far more dramatic than it is, doesn't it, really? But anyway, I haven't. So I haven't got a lot. So what I've done, I've just dug out a few that might be of a little bit of interest. Nothing too spectacular, but want a little bit of a look. First up, obviously, he's got to be some Deep Purple right stuff. But this is the first Deep Purple single. That's the B-side I'm showing you there. That was a bit of a schoolboy error, wasn't it? There's the A-side, Hush, of course. Now you might think, what's so special about that? Well, don't forget, this was a massive big hit in America, but it wasn't a big hit over here. Not so many copies of the English version, and this one's in a nice original parlophone sleeve that it would have come out in as well. So there you go, the first Deep Purple single, Hush, from 1968. On to that, on from that, again, we're slightly Deep Purple rated, because while Deep Purple were doing that, their future singer Ian Gillan and future bass player Roger Glover were in a band called Episode 6. Now this is one of their singles, this one, Lucky Sunday, Episode 6. Now you can see that carefully there, you'll see that this is a promotional demo copy, and it's also an American version as well, which makes it a little bit different to the ones that are, and this is immaculate. I don't think this has probably ever been played. I'm not a big spinner of 45s. An interesting track on the back as well is a track called Mr. Universe, which anybody who's a fan of Gillan will know that that track was sort of regurgitated and became the title track of his 1979 album with Gillan. But this is a slightly different version, as you can imagine, because this was 1967, 68. You can see the date is actually stamped on there as to when it was sent out. Next on that lovely old pink Ireland label from 1969, this I'll Be Creeping. So this is a different version to the version that appeared on the album. I think you can get it now on the outtakes, but this is the reason why I bought it all those years ago, because it was the only place you could get it. And the B-side as well, a track called Sugar for Mr. Morrison, which, that's it, that's on a lovely pink label, and I paid 12 quid for that back in the 80s, which was a fortune, but it, at the time, was the only place that you could get that single version of I'll Be Creeping and Sugar for Mr. Morrison. An interesting one. This is a band from Holland, and this is actually a Dutch pressing of their single. It's Earth and Fire, Ruby Is the One, and Mechanical Lover. This is great, sort of like late 60s, early 70s prog stuff. Classic sort of cover look there. Brilliant, loads of singles. It took me a good 5 or 10 minutes to pick which one of these singles I was going to show you, but this one I think's probably got the best cover. There's one called Tufty the Cat or something, which is hilarious, but there you go. Ruby Is the One from Earth and Fire, and it was the return of the Electric Warrior, Mark Bolan, with 3 great tracks on there. Sing Me a Song is just such a earworm track song. It was I think it was a theme tune to one of his TV specials. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And you got the Long Leg Hand of Menthol Dan. How many other people than Mark Bolan could come up with a title like that? And then the other one as well was Endless Sleep. So that's a great little EP. That. Okay, this next one is again pre-Purple. It's Rod Evans and Ian Pace before they joined Deep Purple. Rod Evans was the first singer, of course. Ian Pace was the drummer, the only person who stayed in Deep Purple all the time, still there now. and they were in a band called The Maze, and they put out this EP in France. Now, before people start going, oh wow, that's worth about 8 million quid, this isn't the original. This is a repress that came out in about 1994. It's still worth a couple of bob. And it's lovely, it's immaculate, it's great. It's got a version of I'm So Glad, which Purple recorded on their first album. 3 other tracks on it, Harlem Shuffle, What Now, and the tracks really nicely reproduced. Reissue for the back sleeve and stuff, and it's great. And 1994, it's 30 years old already on its own, isn't it now? So it's almost becoming vintage in its own right. But that's a really nice cover, and it's a really nice little thing to have there. Some pre-Purple from Rod Evans and Ian Pace. It's special to me. This is, if you say to me you can only keep one single, the whole ones that you've got, it would be this one. And there you go. It's, put it right way up, Frankie Miller. There's the B-side. Frankie Miller, Standing on the Other Side and Fire in the Furnace. Now, Frankie Miller is one of the greatest singers that this country's ever produced. Never really been given the recognition he deserved. Most people only remember him from that awful hit single, Darling, which was nothing like what his other stuff was like. He churned out a load of great albums on Chrysalis. He's written songs for all sorts of people over all over the world, really. Really sort of popular songwriter in America. Now, he left Chrysalis in 1980 and then went on to Capitol in 1982 to make an album called Standing on the Edge before he then eventually moved on to Vertigo. In between moving from Chrysalis to Capitol, he put out one single on this Good Foot Records label, and the 2 tracks have never appeared anywhere else. They've put all sorts of reissue things together of Frankie Miller's catalogue, I think with bonus tracks on, but this, because he doesn't fit in with any of the labels or anything at all, it remains only available on single. There you go. That's a special one for me. 2 Frankie Miller songs. One of my all-time favourite singers, Frankie Miller, right up there in the top bracket for me. On to the dinner party then now. Now I'm going to do this different. I'm going to come at this from a different angle to most people, because I'm going to do it like it was a proper dinner party. A proper dinner party, you don't necessarily invite single people, you invite couples. So I'm going to invite 2 couples to mine. And the first couple is going to be Richie Blackmore and Candice Knight. Now, for those of you that don't know, Richie Blackmore has now stepped away from rock music and he's playing sort of medieval folk music with his wife, Candice Knight, who does the singing. Now, a lot of Purple and Rainbow fans are not overly happy about that. They think he should still be playing rock. Personally, I think you've got to take into account the age of the chap, the fact that he's entertained us for donkey's years. That's the sort of stuff that he wants to play. Let him get on with it, as far as I'm concerned. It's still him playing the guitar. It's still brilliant. It's still good. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it, but don't knock it. Anyway, Richie Blackmore gets a bit of a bad press a lot of the time for being a moody so-and-so and being a bit awkward. He's not. I've met him. He's okay. What he is, he's got a very dry sense of humour. He's very mischievous. And he likes to sort of make people think, if you like. Now, I just think it would be really interesting to have a dinner party, because I've seen and heard about lots of dinner parties that he puts on, and they all seem to be an absolute riot. And I know there's more chance of my hair growing back and Everton qualifying for the Champions League than me getting invited around Richie's place for dinner. So I'd have to invite him to mine. Now, what he does, he makes people, well, he makes people, that's but what he does, he likes people to bring something to the table. Now, I don't mean he needs a starter or some food or some wine. He likes them to do something. He likes people to entertain each other. He likes them to sing a song, do a magic trick, tell a joke, tell a story. Almost like singing for your supper, if you like. So the other couple I want to bring, I can't think of anybody in the world who would more gladly sing for a supper than Toyah Willcox. And Toyah Willcox and Robert Fripp, if you haven't seen their Sunday lunch sessions, they are just so funny. They're hilarious. They take classic songs and they do their own take on them. And I just think it'd be wonderful. Now, I know that Robert Fripp and Richie Blackmore would get on, because Robert Fripp has said in the past that he's a great admirer of Richie Blackmore. And I think they hit it off great. I can imagine Toyah Willcox bursting into song and Candy shaking a tambourine, and it would be an absolute riot. I think it'd be great. goodness knows where the conversation would end up. The thing is, of course, we'd be a little bit lopsided because I'll be there on my own. So if anybody out there fancies being the hostess to come and join me for that dinner, let me know. Would you fancy being there with Robert Fripp, Toy Wilcox, Richie Blackmore, Candice Knight and me? Musician who passed away in 2023. Sadly, we've got so many to choose from, haven't we? But there was only one person I could pick. There are plenty of people who know me and watch Crushed Custard and stuff and know that I couldn't possibly have had anybody other than this, and that is this chap, Mr. Bernie Marsden. There's a picture up on the back of an album that he put out just last year. Bernie Marsden, of course, was the guitar player in proper Whitesnake, as I call it, the Whitesnake that lasted between 78 and 81, 82-ish. Absolutely fantastic guitar player, songwriter. Also co-wrote Here I Go Again, a song which everybody knows. When he stepped away from Whitesnake, he didn't sort of go. One of the things that surprised me was that he never sort of went into another really big band. He just ploughed his own furrow, if you like, putting out solo albums and then going right back into the blues and stuff. But he's put out some great stuff. Obviously, before Whitesnake, he'd been in Pace, Ashton and Lord. He'd briefly been in the UFO. He played with Cozy Powell's Hammer. I have never met anybody, and I've met quite a lot of people over the times involved with music in and around Deep Purple and those sort of bands, Rainbow, Whitesnake and all that lot. I have never met anybody who got a bad word to say about this man. He was an absolute wonder. Got some great albums out there. And yeah, Bernie Marsden, a real big miss for me from 2023. Channels that I've discovered in 2023. Well, all of them, basically, because I only started this just before Christmas in 2022. So every single channel that I've seen it this year. And I was really surprised how many good ones there are. I don't think I've actually found a bad one yet. I'm going to give a quick shout out to three of them. That first one's going to be the Foul Quince, because he was the first one to sort of make any sort of contact with me after I started, and he commented on, I think, one second or third video that I put up, and was very, very supportive, very encouraging, gave me a few tips, gave me a couple of ideas about things, and has been great. He was stumbled across the Vinyl Orchard and Chris, because I sat there watching him, and I thought, this bloke's he's doing the same things that I did. And we worked out that he was, like, in school years, he would have been a year older than me. Although looking at him, he looks like he's a lot younger than me, doesn't he? But everything he did, I did it the next year. It's amazing, really. The only thing that I didn't do that he did was get into punk. I missed that out altogether. It completely passed me by, punk. I never got interested in it at all. The closest thing I got to punk was Blondie. Anyway, so yeah, Chris, the Vinyl Orchard, brilliant, lovely sort of laid back approach to everything. He's really good. Another one I haven't seen for a while. I'll be still around and still making him. He's called the Suffolk Record Collector. The reason I started watching him was because I just saw this picture of this bloke holding up shades of Deep Purple, and it's that curiosity thing, isn't it? What's he going to say about it? Is he going to be giving it a bit of a blasting and saying it's no good? But he wasn't, and he's a big fan of Purple and likes a lot of the bands I like as well. So his videos are great. He just sits on the sofa and chats away and holds his records up, and that is good. I could list a whole load of others, but another one that I found really funny was Norman Maslov, Mazzy. Now, the episode of his that I just found hilarious was when he was testing the Humming Guru record cleaning machine, and he got the archivist, a young lady with him, and they were making cocktails and cleaning records at the same time, and it was extremely funny. And that was a very funny episode. As for episodes of mine, back to one of the few, it's quite an early one, when I've got a yellow t-shirt on rather than a shirt, which I'm pretty famous for in these parts, these shirts, or whatever, when I tell the story about how I discovered Deep Purple and how I discovered the record and tape exchange in Notting Hill Gate. The other one that I'd pointed to was only had about 27 views, and it's pre-Crushed Custard. It was when I first set up the channel and I was messing about doing what I was going to do, and it was a story about a Monday night walk I had in the summer a couple of years ago, where all sorts of things happened. I got chased by cows, I got attacked by kestrels and all sorts of things. And I think that's quite funny. That gives you a bit of an idea what sort of crazy life I can have sometimes out here in the countryside. A record that you bought when you were a teenager. Rainbow Rising. I bought this before I even knew Deep Purple were. If you go back to that video that I was talking about earlier, you'll hear the story all about that. But I've been amazed how many times I've seen videos of other people on YouTube, and they've bought this out. And I bought this when I was at college, my first proper rock album. It's amazing. So many people have this as their first, but this is the one that I will put up as something bought when I was a teenager, because I know it was the first proper rock album I bought, and it was the one that led me into everything Deep Purple. Show a Soul record. Johnny Taylor, Wanted One Soul Singer. It is an absolute blinding album, man. It took me ages to get on with it because it's been out of print for so long now. Brilliant album, this. Johnny Taylor, Wanted One Soul Singer. It's got some great tracks. The track that I wanted it for was the second track, just the one I've been looking for. Also, it's got a Watermelon Man on this as well. It's got some great stuff on it, and it really is good. The thing that I like about it is what it's got on the back. It's got a copy of his application for employment. Well, you can pause this if you want to read it rather than me read it out, but some of the answers on there are pretty good. One that everybody's got and one that no one's got. This is an album that everybody's got, and everybody should have it as well. It's a brilliant album, but everybody, at least at one point 10, 20, 30 years ago, everybody had it. I'm guessing that most of the people who are liable to be watching this have got this, and if it's not this one, it'll be Hotel California, won't it? That I've got that I don't think anybody else has got. I looked on Discogs, I think there's only 30 other people have got this. It's this, a band called Nobody's Business. Now, the main person in the band is caught up by the obi strip, and the obi strip is sort of stuck on this. It's not a gatefold, so I don't really want to take it off. But you can see the picture on the front there. If you can see that, this chap down here on the end with the long hair and a moustache is a bloke called Bobby Harrison. Now, Bobby Harrison was the drummer on White Shadow Path, Procol Harum. He then decided he didn't want to be a drummer, he wanted to be a singer, and he went off and formed a band called Freedom, who became a bit of a underground proggy sort of band. Their first album ended up being the soundtrack to a borderline blue movie at the Cannes Film Festival, but that's a different thing altogether. By the time Freedom had finished, they'd almost turned into a country rock band. He then went on to Snafu. After Snafu finished, he formed this band called Nobody's Business. And I don't think this album got released anywhere apart from Japan. So I certainly never seen it anywhere else. It's available, I think, now on CD, but there's not going to be many people who've got the vinyl copy of this. Album I bought by a female artist. The one that would have to be the top one though for me is this, Joy All Jenny Lewis. Absolutely brilliant album, real fun album. Got a feel of sort of 60s pop about it in places, and it's really, really good. I mean, there's a track on here which is called A Puppy and a Truck. It's a really work track. It's really good. It's a brilliant album I class as a 90s classic. Now, like a lot of people, in the early 90s, I switched over to CD. All of the stuff that I've got that I would class as classic is on CD, but there are a couple that I want on vinyl, which are available on vinyl now. They've been put out in these special edition record store day things, but they are so expensive. I haven't found one at the right price yet, and there's two of them, and they're from my two favourite female artists. First one is Heather Nova, Oyster. That is available on vinyl as a double album. One disc is orange, one disc is green. I've been trying to get a copy of that for ages. I can't find one under 200 quid. And I'm sorry, but the music sounds great on the CD. I haven't been able to justify spending 200 quid on one album I've already got yet. But that is the holy grail, if you like, of 90s classics for me. And then the other one is one of the favourite singer-songwriter. I could have picked two or three. This is Amy Mann. You can see that there with that thing. This Bachelor number 2. This was put out on one of those record store day things, I think, in America, on green vinyl, and they want 200 odd quid for that as well. And it's too much. An album cover you could walk into. Well, this could get you in trouble, couldn't it? I thought of plenty, I tell you. Let's not talk about sort of Electric Ladyland and things like that. Just keep it sensible. So then I thought, made in Japan. Of course, it's got to be made in Japan, hasn't it? And then I saw Chris from the Vinyl Orchard. I watched his video last night, I think, and I noticed that he'd done it. And I thought, let's see if I can think of another one. But then I remembered this, and it gives me an opportunity again to flag up another one of my favourite bands who don't get a lot of recognition, especially over this side of the pond. And it's these, the Guess Who Flavours. Now, I can see one or two of you thinking, why on earth does he want to go in that? Have a look behind me on the wall here and all these things. You'll see that my second great love, apart from music, is horse racing. Now, this is the only album I could think of I'd got that's got horse racing on the cover. And so I could go into this, I could put my hat on so I could be all right dressed up like all these people, and I could mingle with all these fine young ladies, watch the horse racing, and then I could go and listen to Burton Cummings and Co. singing some great songs afterwards. What a day that'd be. An album which I class like a greatest hits. Well, I would have to pick this one, which is Bad Co, the first Bad Company album, because there is not a duff track on this at all. Can't get enough. Rocksteady, Ready for Love, Don't Let Me Down, Bad Company, The Way I Choose, Moving On, and Seagull. It is not a wasted note on this album. It's brilliant. Back to front, inside out, upside down, and back round the other way around again. It's great. Of course, it could have qualified, couldn't it, for the next bit, which is an album from 1974, Jess Roden. Jess Roden was in a band called the Alan Band Set in the back end of the 60s. Then he was in his own band called Bronco, which had Robbie Blunt playing the guitar, who played on Robert Plant's early songs, Big Log and all that sort of stuff. And then he was in the frame to join Deep Purple when Ian Gillan left. He also was in a band called the Butts Band with the rest of the Doors after Jim Morrison had died. They only made one album, so that is brilliant. You can track that down. The Butts Band. It's just called the Butts Band. It's a really, really good album, and that's great. Fantastic. The bloke has got a voice that is just incredible. He's a great singer. There is a brilliant box set. It was put out only on CD. Probably about 10 years or so ago now, by a chap called Neil Story, called Hidden Masters, which has got about 6 CDs in it. Covers his whole career. It's a limited edition. It's very hard to get off. If you ever see that around, really do buy that. If you've never heard of Jess Roden, go and have a listen to this on YouTube. I did a full length review on this earlier in the year, so if you want to hear that, that's back on my channel, right back towards the beginning. So yeah, Jess Roden, that was my album from 1974, and that's it. I think we've done it. We're all the way through those 20 questions, so I hope some of you found something interesting in there. Leave me some comments if you would like to. It's always good to chat, and welcome to come and join in the channel. Like I say, all that subscribing and liking and things. I don't like doing all that self-promotion stuff. If you want to like it, if you want to subscribe, please do so. But don't feel as though you have to or anything like that. Shout out to Rob Walker for putting these questions together. Well done to him, and I've enjoyed watching the responses that I've seen so far. I haven't watched that many yet because I decided that I was going to do one of these, and I thought I don't want to watch too many because otherwise it might cloud my judgment for my ideas. But one or two, when I saw them pop up, I couldn't resist. So now I've done mine, I'll edit it, get it out. I thought I better do it pretty quick because I don't know how all these tags last for, because I've never done one before. Now I'm going to go and watch everybody else's and realise that maybe what a lot of you have picked exactly the same albums as me. So hopefully see you all again sometime very soon, and until then, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe as it helps the channel to grow. See you soon.